Good morning, everybody. Bishop-elect here, and it is time for another broadcast. And while the notifications are going out, I want to send out our birthday shout-outs to Ling Dunlap, to Juanita Hardaway, to Jordan Baxby, to Vivian Henderson, to Jordan Mance, to Lachey Haynes Nicole, to Jalen James Jones, to Ryan Washington, to Apostle ATM Johnson, to Ursula Franklin, to Glenn Davis, to Gwen Gay, and again to Jalen Jones, and to my own very best friend, Bishop-elect Damian Dean. Today is your birthday, and if it's your birthday, I want to wish you a happy birthday as well. And I pray that your day is filled with many blessings, gifts, and love from all around, and that you enjoy as many of the sweet things as you desire. Just don't make yourself sick. It's your day. You've been waiting for this day for a long time. So now, hey, go out, live it up, be safe. Have a wonderful time. I'm so thankful and grateful for each of you tuning into this broadcast. If this is your first time watching one of these broadcasts, I want you to know that they are to encourage you, to empower you, to educate you, to motivate you, to inspire you, to uplift you, to move towards your destiny, operating in the purpose for which you've been created, using the gifts that are within you. I am so glad that you are a part, and I want to say thank you to those of you who are consistent viewers of these broadcasts, of supporters of Lamont Walker Ministries, and I just can't tell you thank you enough from the bottom of my heart. I thank you for all of your red and blue dots, for your likes, for your shares, for your comments, etc. And it just means so very much to me. And so from the bottom of my heart, I want you to know that I love you. Thank you so much. And I hope and pray that you always receive something that's worth listening to, that's worth tuning into. Good morning, Reverend Charlotte. It is good to see you there. Thank you so very much. And as you all are seeing there, the Lord has seen fit to bring elevation again in our lives and our ministry. And so in just a few days, we will be consecrated to the bishopric. And I am thankful and grateful to the Lord again for what he is doing, not only in my life, but in the life of his people all around the world. And so myself, along with Bishop-elect Damian Dean, Bishop-elect David Stevens, and Bishop-elect Linda Moss will be consecrated, and the date will go out very soon, as well as the invitation, so that you all who would love to witness this great move of God will be able to be here, be a part of it. And so good morning, Missionary Mary, my cousin. Love you so much. Good morning, Elder Lakeisha Green. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And so I want to get right to it because I don't want to waste any time. We have been dealing with, starting yesterday, this week, we've been talking about thorns. And yesterday we talked about thorns being the remedy. And today we want to talk about thorns being the humility inducer. And so one of the things that I'm so excited about, I was just contemplating this. I've been thinking about this for a very long time and just excited to share this with you. One of the reasons why is because I think that a lot of times people in the church and outside of the church don't realize how easy it is to get caught up in the spirit of religion and to get caught up in the spirit of tradition. Thank you so much, Pastor Snipes. That's a great man of God right there. Appreciate your love so much. And one of the things that I wanted to, or felt the need to share with you and whoever will listen to this, is about thorns, because a lot of times, as we were sharing yesterday, people don't oftentimes think about their thorns because they're into identifying, calling out the thorns of others. Hey, Minister Antoine Williams, thank you so much, man. We do give God praise. And so with that being said, there's a few things that I want to share with us this morning that's going to lead me to a place. I was talking about yesterday that a lot of times when people want to identify and call out your thorn, most times they're not trying to identify or call out your thorn to help you, but they're trying to call out your thorn to hinder you. They're trying to identify your thorn to hinder you or to make themselves look better. And always calling out and identifying the thorn or the flaw or imperfection of another, as I said, it only further proves that you have an issue, that you have a thorn. And most oftentimes that's a fault-finding spirit. That's a critical spirit. And those type of people that have that type of mindset and that type of attitude are people that you want to disconnect from if you don't feel that you have the authority to call it out or to correct it or to address it. Because those are the type of people that are never satisfied with anything. People that have a fault-finding spirit, that have a critical spirit, those are the type of people that are never content with anything. Everything is always messed up. There's always something wrong. They always have a complaint. And those are the type of people that always want to identify the thorn in someone else to make themselves look better. And so I just want to let you know in regards to those people, listen, you can't help them because they need help themselves. And I oftentimes like to think of those people as being undercover Christians, but they are actually undercover Sadducees and Pharisees who are masquerading as Christians, is what I like to call those type of persons, because on the surface they present themselves as a Christian or as a believer, as a disciple, but underneath they have another agenda, which is again fault finding. It's being critical, and that's exactly what the Sadducees and the Pharisees were doing. They had a very, very critical, very religious spirit about them, especially when they were trying to attack Jesus. But you have to remember, and I've talked about this, I don't know, this was sometime last year I was sharing that the ultimate agenda, watch this, y'all, what I'm about to say, the ultimate agenda of a person that has a religious spirit, the ultimate agenda is to kill. The ultimate agenda of a religious spirit is to kill. It's never to bring life. It's never to help. It's never to uplift. It's never to edify, but it is only to find fault and to be critical of your flaws, of your thorns, of your weakness for the sake of killing you. All right. And so those are the type of people that you want to get away from. And one of the things that I learned is that people that are like that, people who are always trying to call out your flaw, call out your weakness, those are the individuals who have failed to remember that just like you and I, that they were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. That's one of the things that the psalmist talked about. I was looking at that over there in Psalms 51. He was saying that we are all born in sin, shaped in iniquity. So every human on this planet has something wrong with them. Every human on this planet has a default. Every human on this planet has a weakness. And so watch this. You don't want to ignore the fact that you have a weakness, but you don't have to dwell on the fact that you have a weakness. Your weakness is not something that you have to lift up, and your weakness is not something that anyone else should be lifting up either, because the fact of the matter is we all have one. And one of the things that I learned is that, listen, we are born in sin. We're shaped in iniquity. Every human has a fault. That is that people watch the show. Now, this is one of the things that kind of blew my mind because, I look at a lot of people's posts and their comments, especially when they're talking about controversial issues such as molestation and murder and rape and all this other kind of stuff that's going on in the world today. And one of the things that folks fail to realize in the church is that those individuals who may have committed those acts, it is a flaw. It is a weakness. It is a thorn in their flesh. And the fact of the matter is, listen, it's in all of us. There are people who struggle with infidelity. There are people who struggle with adultery, who struggle with idolatry, who struggle with lasciviousness, uncleanness, all of these things, malice and anger. And here's one that a lot of people don't really want to talk about, but it's such a huge monstrosity, is unforgiveness. It's a weakness. If you have difficulty forgiving people, that's a thorn in your flesh. It's a flaw that you have. It's an imperfection that you have. Why? Because you need forgiveness as well. And so I don't even want to jump off into that. But the fact of the matter is, it's a thorn that's there. And so you have to realize and recognize that you have one, but don't dwell on the fact. And it's not something, again, that you have to lift up. And it's not something that anybody else should be lifting up either. Because the fact of the matter is, we all need Christ. That's the reason why we all need help, or we need strength. We need a greater power, if you will, as some people like to say. And that greater power for me is God, the creator of heaven and earth. We need something that's bigger than us to help us with our flaw, to help us. Thank you so much for the red and blue dots. I appreciate that. Thank you for letting me know that I'm not the only human on this planet. We need something that is able to help us live in this realm while we have these flaws within us. And the Apostle Paul was saying that it's best for us to receive Christ. And he also wrote that, therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. But here's one of the things that is shocking. It's mind-blowing. When you get in Christ, the thorn is not removed. Woo, that's a great shouting point right there. Because a lot of times people think that, okay, when I accept Jesus Christ, my life is going to be crystal clean. It's going to be 180-degree turn. Everything is going to be perfect. Every day is going to be a day of walking through the roses and sunshine and wonderful, beautiful, bright days. But that is not the case. You will still, let me say this again, you will still have a thorn even with Jesus Christ in your life. And then somebody will say, well, what's the need of having Jesus Christ if you're still going to have the thorn? Jesus Christ is the power that enables you to operate despite the thorn. Okay, let me calm down, because I'm getting too excited and I'm getting ready to like shout and go up in tongues. Because the fact of the matter is, without Jesus Christ, then we are in position to be judged. We are in position to be condemned. But he said, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. And he says, all things are passed away, and behold, all things are become new. So once I get inside of him and he gets inside of me, I'm not in the same place anymore. And this is the reason why we must have him in our life, because watch this, y'all, without him being there, then again, it puts people in the position of not needing, watch this, it puts them in the position of not needing God, because then they can become God themselves. Woo, Lord have mercy. And if you could become God yourself, then you could fix your flaw. You could correct your imperfection by yourself, but you can't do it because you're not God. But a lot of times what people end up doing is putting themselves in that position when they forget that they have a flaw. And so what happens is they start to identify your flaw, they call your flaw out, and then they start to judge your flaw, which puts them in the position of being God. But then I also looked over in St. Matthew 7, and I love that text because that's the one that got me together. And that one says, let me read it to you because I want to make sure that you understand and hear this very, very, very good. And what I'm about to say, and then I'm about to go. I got to go. And he says, judge not, lest ye be judged. For with what judgment you judge, you shall be judged. And with what measure you meet, it shall be measured to you again. And why behold you the mote that's in your brother's eye, but consider not the beam that's in your own eye? Listen, 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 y'all. Listen, y'all. Listen, y'all. He says, you don't even consider the beam that's in your own eye. Or how will you say to your brother, let me pull the mote out of thine own eye, and behold the beam that's in your own eye? Then he goes on to say, you hypocrite. This is what he says. You hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of your own eye, and then you shall see clearly to cast out the mote that is out of your brother's eye. That text got me together. Thank you so much, Reverend Charlotte. Thank you, Pastor Snipes. Thank you, Pastor Harton. What that text did for me, y'all, is that text again talking about the thorns being the humility inducer. That right there humbled me, because what he said and amplified and brought me revelation and understanding with that is the thing that, watch this, what I'm about to say, watch what I'm about to say. And if you don't hear anything else, hear this part and make sure this particular part is shared with your family members and your friends and your coworkers, your neighbor's boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever. What he said to me with that text is, he said, watch this. This was several years ago, y'all. Several years ago. I've been living with this for a long time. He said the very same thing that you see in other people and you have a problem with is somebody else is the same problem that's within you. That's the reason why you're able to see it. That's the reason why it bothers you so much, because it's actually in you. I'm gonna let that be a Selah moment for a hot second. I'm gonna let y'all think on that. Okay, for another 2 seconds. Let you think on that. Okay, so the problem and the thorn that you can identify in somebody else, it's a real good possibility that that might be the thing that's inside of you. Okay, so let me say this. So the gayness that you may see in somebody else, it actually may be the gayness that's in you. It may be the homosexuality in you. The drunkenness that you see in somebody else, it could be that that's the drunkenness that's within you. Y'all not gonna talk back to me. The liar that you see in somebody else, it very well could be that that's the liar that's inside of you. That negative, critical person that you may see in somebody else, it's a good possibility that that's the negative, critical person that's on the inside of you. And so you got to make sure that what you're seeing in somebody else is not a reflection of what's on the inside of you. You got to make sure that you're seeing clearly. Make sure that you don't have a beam that's in your eye. Because if you have a beam in your eye and you trying to see something that's in somebody else's eye and trying to help them out, the text calls you a hypocrite. You are a hypocrite. You are a person that is so twisted and that's so backwards that you don't even realize that what's going on or what you may see in somebody else is actually what's in you. Let that be another Selah moment. So before you want to go and identify somebody else's thorn, you better make sure it's not the thorn that's inside of you. That person that you may see as having a problem sleeping around the church, you better make sure you're not the person that's sleeping around. The person that you may see as having a problem with their money, you better make sure that you are not the person that has a problem with money. The person that you may see that has a problem with stealing, make sure that stealing is not in you. Listen, while I'm talking right here, that's why he said, judge not lest ye be judged. So if you not ready to have the liar in you judge, don't judge nobody else. If you not ready to have the homosexual in you judge, don't judge nobody else. If you not ready to have the lesbian in you judge, then don't judge nobody else. I'm talking real good to somebody out here that's listening and watching. Can I see some red and blue dots if y'all know that this is the truth? Is there a witness out there in Facebook land that hears me what I'm saying to you? If you watch what I'm talking to y'all, it's the truth. This is what he's been saying to me, and I've been living with this for a long time. And that's one of the reasons why you will never ever find me judging nobody. You will never ever see me sitting in judgment on nobody else, because why? I'm still sitting in the seat judging my own self. That's what he's saying. Listen, if you want to judge somebody, start with you. You ain't got nothing else to say about nobody else if you start with you. I promise you, you won't have any finding fault in nobody else. You won't be able to find error in nobody else if you start with you. Why? Because you know and realize and recognize your own thorn. See, this thorn, it is the humility inducer. What he's saying is that you got to get down up off of your high horse. While you trying to sit in judgment on somebody else, don't you forget that there is something messed up, it's something twisted, it's something wrong with you. So before you try to make anybody else look bad, make sure that you sitting in judgment on yourself. Make sure it ain't in you first. That's what I gotta say. I gotta get off of here. I love y'all, but I thank you for tuning in. But you better make sure, listen, as you go through the rest of this day, make sure that what you're seeing very clearly. Make sure you ain't got no beam in your eye. Hear me what I'm saying. Make sure you ain't got no mote in your eye. And remember, before you open up your mouth in judgment on anybody else, make sure that it ain't in you first. Make sure it ain't in you first. This is what I'm saying. Because if you find it in you, listen, if you see an inkling or an ounce of it in you, you sit in judgment on yourself first before you try to start sitting in judgment on somebody else. Before you start trying to point the finger at somebody else and saying, look at how they walk, look at how they talk, look at how they dress, look how funny they are. All of these other things that you want to call out and identify as a thorn. Because the fact of the matter is, listen, none of us as a human on this planet, we can't do anything about the thorn that's in our flesh. We don't have the power to do it. You look over there and what the apostle said, I prayed 3 times to God to take away this thorn. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later. Maybe tomorrow, I think it's going to be the broadcast where I can hit that and we can jump and shout. That is the reason why it is so important and imperative. If you are a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ, if you are a disciple, I don't care what has happened to you in your past. If you proclaim to be a believer and a follower of Christ, yours is to be obedient to the command. What did he say? Love the Lord your God with all your mind, your heart, your strength. But then he said the second is to love your neighbor as yourself. So that means you've got to see good in your neighbor. And if you can't love your neighbor, that tells me that you don't love yourself. And watch this. Your neighbor is any person that you come into contact with. It ain't just the people that live on your block. It ain't the people that's just in your house. It's anybody that you come into contact with. That's who you are supposed to love. So that person that raped you, you have to love them. That person that molested you, you have to love and forgive them. I know it's hard. That person that killed your neighbor, that killed your son, that killed your uncle, that killed your niece, that killed your mother, you have to love them. Why? Because it's a thorn that's in their flesh. And as believers, we cannot withhold it from anybody. When this gospel is free and we received it freely and we're living under it right now, I gotta go. We're all living under it. Why? Because each of us has a thorn that's in us, and that thorn is to induce humility within you. So it's for you to come down off your high horse. Yes, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. That's who I'm talking to. The person that's been sitting on judgment, that's been withholding forgiveness, withholding grace, withholding love from the people that actually need it, just like you and I. We all need it because we all have a thorn. I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is to humble you. That's why you got the thorn. It's to humble you. It's to humble you and cause you to realize and recognize I'm jacked up. I'm messed up. So I can't fault nobody else for being messed up. I can't call nobody else out for being messed up. I can't hinder them from their growth, from their maturity, from their healing, because they're messed up just like I am. And the fact of the matter is, we all need the help of God. So humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, that he can lift you up, that he can cover your thorn. Hear me what I'm saying. I read a book that said what you uncover to God, that he will cover up. So you don't have to worry about being exposed when you humble yourself and when you uncover it before God, because God will cover it with his grace, with his love, with his mercy and his compassion. And so that's why I don't care what nobody got I've said it before and I've said it for years. I don't care what nobody got to say about me. Call me what you will. Call me skinny, call me tall, call me gay, call me straight, call me whatever you want to call me. I don't care because I don't live under the judgment of anybody else because I'm already sitting in the judgment seat judging myself. I love you. I pray that you've been encouraged. I pray you've been educated, motivated, inspired, and uplifted to move towards your destiny, operating in the purpose for which you've been created, using the gifts that are within you. Don't hate, don't identify, call out your own thorn. Humble yourself. Deal with your thorn, not with nobody else's thorn. And I'm signing off by saying hello 2019. It's still the same. I'm going up and so are you. And what's to come for you and for me, it's better than what's been. Mad love.